dark of the night, whispers of deceit.
Shadows dance on the walls.
Secrets they repeat. A shadowed figure
with eyes full of lies.
hiding truths in the shadows where no one dares to pry. Uncover the truth, let the lies come undone. Peel back the layers until the light is shown. Uncover the truth, let the shadows run. Break free from the chains and find the sun. Uncover the truth in the dead of the night, where secrets lie hidden like a whispered bite. Uncover the truth in the dim of the light, where betrayals take root in the heart of the fight. In the rain-soaked streets, under the moon's pale light, a crime unfolds.
All right, and here we are, Bloodlines and Betrayal. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe,
Seminator.
Ali, and he's saying yes to greatness, and he's fighting through such a cold, such a cough, because he's dedicated to you, our loyal following and audience. Coach Schumann, he wouldn't take the day off, not for anything. If he got shot, he would still be here. And we are sticking with the cult theme of the week. I guess it's cult week here on Bloodlines and Betrayal. And we are
I like that. Cult week. I like that.
Yeah, it's the cult theme of the week. And we are going to talk about the largest mass murder of Americans since 9/11. And this is Jim Jones and Jonestown. A very, very great story. I've seen several documentaries on it and did my research on it. And it's just incredible what this man was able to do. And it's also very psychological to see, in the absence of leadership, when people are down on their luck, in the absence of any type of leadership, they will follow whoever stands up and takes them aside and says, I got this. I got you. That's what Jim Jones did. Charlie Manson did. David Koresh did. And they preyed on these people's vulnerabilities. And that is how they were able to build a cult. Jim Jones's story is very, very unique because it was completely unexpected. If you look at him from his early life, he was actually born in 1931 in a rural community, and his parents were actually Native Americans. They had Native American descent. His father fought in World War I, and because of that, he had several illnesses. They suffered through the Great Depression and really ended up living in a shack. And this is kind of what started to influence Jones about our country and his disdain for it and wanting to break free from it. Where they lived, it was literally a shack that lacked plumbing and electricity. The family was really trying to get by through manual labor. They were farmers. They were really farmers. That's how they made their income during this time. They lacked food. They got no financial support from the government or their family, extended family. And they actually sometimes foraged in a forest nearby to get food and supplement their diet. And then the other thing that really influenced Jones, while his father was sick, he couldn't contribute much. Jones did a lot, and his mother was very, very, let's just say she was not a natural mother. She did not have those quote unquote maternal instincts. She often rejected Jones. And they did get some financial assistance from part of their extended family, but they were frustrated that the mother would refuse to work, absolutely refuse to work, and threatened to cut off any money to them unless the mother got a job. His parents didn't really care about him, were often gone during his childhood. His aunts and uncles were really the only ones to give him supervision. And it was known around town. This kid, Jim Jones as a kid, would wander the streets naked. They just see this kid running around naked. He was cared for by some of the female residents, and they gave him some food, clothing, and gifts. So he really had a difficult childhood, and that kind of formed his thoughts and his vision going forward. So early on, he basically developed an attachment to a church pastor. It was a female. I'm sorry, the wife of the church's pastor gave Jones a Bible, encouraged him to study it. She taught him about the holiness code. They attended what was called the Nazarene Church. And as Jones got older, he really became what we call a religious zealot. He attended services daily, and he would often go to multiple churches each week because he was just so ingrained in religion, and it fascinated him. And he was actually baptized by several different churches. And this is where his desire to become a preacher formed. And even as a child, because he was helped by, people in town, the church, he began to practice preaching in private, which was amazing. His mother claimed that she was disturbed when she caught him imitating a pastor of a local Pentecostal church. And Pentecostal churches are very passionate, I would say. So she
speak in tongues.
Yes, she tried to prevent him from attending all church services. And they had sympathy for him, but his neighbors realized, even as a child, he was really strange and unusual, obsessed with religion, but also obsessed with death. He also visited. This is what blew my mind when I first started. He would regularly visit a man who manufactured caskets in the town of Lynn. And get this, he held mock funerals for roadkill that he collected. So he collected dead squirrel on the road, and he would perform a funeral where he would practice preaching.
Wow, he's a different cat.
Yeah, I like that. That's what blew my mind. And allegedly, one neighbor of a neighbor of the family said that Jones himself killed a cat with a knife because he wanted to have a funeral. And he would be angry because none of the children in the area would come and attend these funerals. So he would perform them alone. He also, this is when his mental illnesses, I would say, started to happen. He claimed that he could fly. He once leaped off a roof of a building to demonstrate to others that he could fly, although he ended up falling, and luckily he only just broke his arm. Nonetheless, he just said he had exceptional abilities that nobody else had. He would put, like, this is even crazy. He would put other kids in life-threatening situations and tell them he was guided by the angel of death. And he would push them to do all these crazy things, and they did. He also committed several sacrilegious pranks in the churches he attended as a boy. He stole a Pentecostal minister's Bible, and he also covered another Bible with cow manure.
Oh.
And he also claimed that he poured a cup of his own urine in the holy water of a Catholic church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is a strange kid as he's growing up. A Jones biographer suggests that he developed his unusual interests because he couldn't make friends. That's kind of obvious. I picked up on that. He was never taught as a kid acceptable behavior. He was not someone who regularly attended school. So, I mean, he was like a feral kid. He were roaming the streets of Lynn naked. So, his strange religious practices stood out to many people. He misbehaved frequently. He was becoming now it's not just kids being kids. Now he's a teenager and he's escalating what he's doing. He's stealing candy from merchants in town. His mother was required to pay for his thefts. He used profanity, swearing, commonly greeting friends and neighbors by saying, "Good morning, you son of a bitch. Hey, you dirty bastard." Similar to, and he picked this up from his mother because, like I said, his mother had no maternal instincts, didn't teach his son anything. And she frequently swore in public and found the amusement because, when people hear women swear, they react, and she enjoyed the reaction she was giving. The other thing that stood out, Jones's mother often beat him with a belt.
Oh.
I mean, he was beaten over and over severely with a leather belt to punish his misbehaviors. So as he got older, this is where the problems started. He became intensely interested in social doctrines. He became a voracious leader. He studied Hitler, Stalin, Karl Marx, and he also did study Gandhi. When he was married, he told his wife.
He didn't apply Gandhi.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He didn't do anything like Gandhi.
He discarded that one.
Yeah, that one didn't have the influence.
No, I guess not.
When he was married, he told his wife that Mao Zedong was his hero.
Mao Zedong?
Mao Zedong was its hero.
That's the Chinese guy who killed like 100 million people.
And the communist.
And he's a communist, yes.
Yeah. That's his hero.
Theme. There's a theme of lots of death and communism.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Because it's like you said about Sharia law. Basically, if you don't believe in it, they just kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no freedom of speech.
No.
He never had radical political views as a youth, but when World War II started, he developed a huge interest in the Nazi Party, and he loved Nazi Germany.
Okay.
He tried to, as a teenager, act as a dictator over the other kids, ordering them to goose step together and beating those who disobeyed. And
like
one of his childhood friends recalled Jones shouting, "Hail Hitler," and giving the Nazi salute of the German prisoners. So
he sounds like he's fun at a party.
Yeah. So when Jones was interviewed quite frequently, he was a media whore. I mean, because he became more successful in life. But when he commenting on his childhood, he said, "I was ready to kill by the end of the 3rd grade. I mean, I was so aggressive and hostile. I was ready to kill. Nobody gave me love, any understanding. In those days, a parent was supposed to go with a child to school functions. There was some kind of school performance, and everyone's parents were there but mine. I'm still there alone, always alone." Yeah, it was. And this is what contributed to what we got from him later in life. I mean, he was attracted to religion really because he found a community.
Right.
He liked having that community. And this is a guy going to church every day and going to different churches every day, which is amazing. But he actually attended a religious convention at a Pentecostal church. So he was kind of based in that. That's where he developed his ability to preach and his charisma. And I think that's why people followed him. The other crazy thing is so many people went to Jim Jones's mother and said to her, from a child to a teenager, everything, like, you need to control his behavior. Like, this is becoming out of control. This is becoming like serious. Like it's going to be dangerous. And what happened was parents kept their kids away from him.
Right.
And he really became an outcast in high school. And he was, quote unquote, progressively despised by the locals. So he went by the nickname Jimmy in his youth. He always had a Bible with him, and he always was a good student who enjoyed debating the teachers. He had a habit of refusing to respond to anyone who spoke to him first, and engaged in conversations only when he started them, because he's the great Jim Jones. I speak. When I speak, you listen, and then I'll talk to you. If you talk to me, I how dare you? He would, like, going to school. He would dress in his Sunday church clothes every day of the week. His religious views alienated him completely from young people. Because, Dave, you're in high school, and if there's this kid who is coming around preaching and hyper religious, like we're playing sports, like we're hanging out, we're looking at girls, like we're not religious. We were confirmed. I mean, I was confirmed. Religion was important, but it didn't like control my life. It wasn't my main interest. He never participated in sports. And then in like 1945, his parents divorced. And, that was very difficult because his family lost support. His mother, because he stayed with his mother, she lost support from the extended family. And he became working. He started working at a hospital as an orderly. And he loved it. And they said that he was a model worker, but he exhibited disturbing behavior towards some patients and coworkers. And he also dated a nurse. So what happened was in 1952, he ended up moving, but he was trying to go to college. He went to Indiana University for 2 years. The nurse that he was dating, he ended up marrying very early on. Marceline, her name was. And, Jones frequently emotionally and psychologically abused Marceline. Jones insisted on attending a new church. Marceline was a Methodist, so Jones wanted to attend a full gospel tabernacle, but eventually compromised and began attending a local Methodist church. Despite attending churches every week, Jones privately was still having issues with his wife. He was consistently insecure, and he often really needed Marceline's love and loyalty. Like he just questioned it. He thought she was cheating. He just didn't believe that she loved her. And he put her through a lot. So, but he attended Indiana University for 2 years. They were living in Indianapolis. He took night classes at Butler in University to continue his education. And he finally earned a degree in secondary education in 1961. And he started attending Communist Party gatherings in Indianapolis.
He is a loon, by the way. But I feel
I know he is.
You know what's crazy? It's one of those things that, like, when they're young, if you don't
fix the problem,
or if you don't take care of the kid, you recognize that the family dynamics, and this happens throughout the United States, all over the place. It's just that this guy did a mass.
It really is.
But it's crazy how
he was a feral kid.
He was probably a kid that was trying to figure things out. Didn't know why he felt certain ways. Had no one to help him through it.
Nobody helped him.
And he did seek out. So that's the crazy part, is religion probably for a long was trying to. He was
That was his community.
He was in the religious side because he was trying to get some level of salvation, and
Yes,
then
exactly.
the dark side of him, the devil side, was this whole goose stepping communist. So he
Right.
had two sides on his shoulder, like literally the angel. You know, like when we were kids,
Yes. Yeah.
the angel and the devil, and he somehow leveraged the angel part to become the devil, which is crazy. But it was part of it because his upbringing was so
100%.
messed up. He could never he didn't know how to figure things out. And look
Because
what
nobody cared about him.
look at the terrible results it leads to. You know?
Exactly. Exactly. When you don't have attentive parents who show love and care about what you're doing, um, that is a tremendous influence on you. And it's clear how it influenced him to find, like you said, he was trying to find salvation. He was trying to find a purpose, and he found, community by going to church and then attending several different churches. I couldn't imagine that, attending several different masses a day at different churches. So basically, believing that this is the one thing that was different. He believed that a racially integrated and rapidly growing latter rain movement offered him a greater opportunity to become a preacher. He convinced his wife to leave the Methodist Church and join the Pentecostals. And then in 1953, it was when he actually began preaching at the Laurel Street Tabernacle in Indianapolis, the Pentecostal Assemblies of the Church of God. Jones he held healing revivals there, and then he began speaking at other churches in the latter rain movement. I don't know what the Assemblies of God are, but the Assemblies of God were strongly opposed to the
Seventh
latter
Day
rain.
Adventist, maybe? Is that Seventh Day Adventist? Assemblies of God?
It doesn't say. It doesn't even come up. It just says that they were opposed to the latter rain movement. In 1955, they assigned a new pastor to the Laurel Street Tabernacle who enforced their line of denomination ban on healing revivals, because that's what Jones was big on.
Assemblies of God is Pentecostal.
Okay. So this is what led Jones to he created a new church, and it was called the People's Temple. This was the church that he became famous for. His new church at the time only had 20 members who came with him from the Laurel Street Tabernacle, and they were not financially able to support his vision. At one point, he apparently he had pet monkeys. He sold them to raise funds for his church. So, he built this thing from the ground up. So what he did, he was brilliant by doing this. He saw the need for publicity, and he used that to popularize his ministry and recruit members. So when he was ordained as a minister, it was in 1956. He knew he needed a well-known figure to draw crowds. So he attempted to share the pulpit with a man by the name of William M. Branham. Branham was well known to attendees, and he would tell attendees their name an address and why they came for prayer before pronouncing them healed. And Jones was like blasphemed by his methods, how he knew this stuff. And then he started to perform the same things. Jones and Branham worked very well together. And now they started building an audience. They started building a following. They started really building a congregation, so to speak. They eventually got up to 11,000, which is, from 20 people to 11,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Many attendees, believe Jones, his performance indicated that he possessed a supernatural gift. And because Branham was endorsing him, he's getting a rub off. Branham, who had a great reputation and was legit, this led to the massive growth of the People's Temple. And what Jones did, and again, this was smart by him, he recruited many primarily African American attendees. They would attend his conventions, and they began attending the People's Temple. And astoundingly enough, regular attendance at the People's Temple grew to 1,000 per service, thanks to the publicity Branham provided to Jones and the People's Temple. And, it was based off a Pentecostalism, but that's what the People Temple was. It was a Christian church based off of Pentecostalism. And the People's Temple was Jones's idea because he wanted to make it seem like it's your temple. It's you're part of this, your organization. It's not me. It's you. And I think that the name was influential in getting people to come. So after this, he started to go to many states all over the country with Branham, and they were performing these revival campaigns. And the People's Temple hosted an international Pentecostal convention in 1957, headlined by Branham. And it just, again, was huge.
Was Branham with him from the get-go, or
No, he recruited him when he started the People's Temple, because he knew he needed a big name. Because like I said, when he first did his preaching, 20 people showed up. So he knew he needed publicity. He knew he needed a big name. And I don't know anything about William Branham, but apparently he was a big name that people respected. And when Jones was side by side with him preaching, that is what grew the church. So Jones adopted one of the Latter Rain's key doctrines, which he continued to promote for the rest of his life. And this was the manifested sons of God. William Branham and the Latter Rain movement promoted the belief that individuals could become manifestations of God with supernatural gifts and superhuman abilities. Okay. And they believed that such a manifestation signaled the second coming of Christ. And people endowed with these special gifts would usher in a millennial age in the heaven of earth. Jones was fascinated by this idea, and he used it to promote utopian ideas that eventually he convinced himself he was a manifestation of God. And by 1960, he was teaching. He was a manifestation of Christ, the revolution. And basically, Jones stole from Branham. Branham was a major influence on Jones. He adopted elements, Branham's methods, doctrines, style, and that was kind of how he became the person that he ended up becoming. He was stealing from this guy. Once it kept taking off, he was getting more and more African Americans. He also became aware of Father Divine, who was an African American spiritual leader of the international peace movement, who was often derided by the Pentecostal ministers for his claims of diversity. And Jones visited Father Divine's peace mission in Philadelphia, and he was just looking to talk with him, to give an authentic, unbiased, objective statement about his activities to his fellow Pentecostal ministers, because his church had the majority was black. So Divine was another. It is his following was black.
What was the appeal to the African American to blacks? What was the appeal of Jim Jones's church?
I think because he was a Pentecostal, because he was a white man who accepted them. I think that was huge.
Okay.
And like it said, most of them were poverty stricken. So here's the guy.
That might be how he related to people, because he was poor growing up.
Exactly.
Probably could speak to the similar things that he was going through that they went through.
Exactly. I know where you've been. I've been to the bottom. I know how it feels. I know how it feels
more to the bottom than they were.
I know how it feels to not have water.
Yeah.
So I think that's
which he did.
I think that's how he connected with them.
Yeah, right, because he knew all those things. Shoot. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So in 1960, Jones became the director of the Human Rights Commission, and the Indianapolis mayor was the one who appointed him to this, and he wanted Jones to keep a low profile. However, Jones was using this position to secure new outlets for his views on radio and television programs. So, he was appointed this because of his popularity in Indianapolis by the mayor, director of Human Rights Commission. That doesn't mean, pastor, church preacher, right. But that's what he was doing. He would get time on radio and TV, to talk about the town or the city of Indianapolis and the Human Rights Commission, and he was using it to preach. And then, the mayor was getting pissed off. They wanted him to stop appearing in public. But Jones, this is the other thing that's strange. He went to an NAACP meeting, and it was an NAACP and Urban League meeting, and he was wildly cheered, and they erupted for him. They loved him. He encouraged the audience to be more militant, and his speech ended with "Let my people go." So he's really acting like he's black. But with the good things he did, he helped to racially integrate churches, restaurants, the telephone company, and the police department, a theater, an amusement park, Indiana University Health Methodist Hospital. When swastikas were painted on the homes of two black families, Jones walked through the neighborhood, comforted the black community, and counseled white families not to move. He set up sting operations to catch restaurants who refused black customers, and wrote to American Nazi party leaders and passed their responses to the media, which is unbelievable. Like he's playing both fucking sides. And he he was criticized for integration. The People's Temple became a major target for white supremacists, and there were several incidents. A swastika was placed on the temple. A stick of dynamite was left there. A dead cat was thrown at Jones's house. He would get threatening phone calls. So it was a mess. So this is what happened. In 1961, he warned his congregation he received visions of a nuclear attack that would devastate Indianapolis. His wife confided to her friends that he was becoming increasingly paranoid and fearful. Like other followers of William Branham who moved to South America in the 60s, again, this is what influenced Jones. But Branham's 1961 prophecy concerning the destruction of the U.S. and the nuclear war, because this, we're at the height of the Cold War, Jones began to look for a way to escape everything. So he read an article in Esquire about South America being the safest place to reside. Jones then visited Georgetown. Georgetown is in Guyana. And that's actually where Razul's from. I'm going to have to ask him about this. So he visited and he held his revival meetings. Guyana at the time was a British colony. And he also went to Brazil and he rented a home there. He studied the local economy, the receptiveness of racial minorities. He just found a language to be a barrier. He didn't want to portray himself as a communist because he was. He spoke of an apocalyptic communal lifestyle rather than Marxism. So the family moved to Rio de Janeiro. He's looking for a location for the People's Temple. And, he is struggling. Now he becomes struggling. He actually sold his church because he needed the money. And, he started traveling again. He ended up relocating to California. His followers did as well. And he actually, he took a job as a teacher to make extra money, but he also used the position to recruit people to the People's Temple. He was teaching his students the benefits of Marxism and lecturing on religion. And he was able to get like another 75 to 100 people into the congregation. So they found another church in California, and they were there for several years. I'm going to go down. Now, this is when he also was starting to abuse drugs. He increasingly the way to control people, and he knew this, you fear. Make them fear. Make them scared. And fear was a way to control and manipulate his fathers. And he often talked about an enemy seeking to destroy all of them, destroy him. The enemy changed over time. It was the KKK, then the Nazis, then redneck vigilantes, finally the American government. So that's why he convinced everyone the American government's going to shut us down, and we're going to have
a little like Koresh.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe more radical.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So,
okay, I'm listening.
This went on for a while. Finally, in 1971, reporters came and covered one of Jones's divine healing services, and the news report led to an investigation by the Indiana State Psychology Board into Jones's healing practices. A doctor involved in the investigation accused Jones of being a quack and challenged Jones to give tissue samples of material he claimed fell off people when they were healed of cancer. The investigation caused alarm within the temple. He'd been performing faith healing miracles since he started working with Branham. On several occasions, his healings were revealed as nothing but a hoax. In one incident, Jones actually drugged a temple member, and while she was unconscious, a cast was put on her arm. She regained consciousness. She was told she was falling and broke her arm and had to be taken to the hospital. In a subsequent healing service, Jones removed her cast in front of his congregation and told them that she was healed. So, he got caught doing that. He was fearful that his methods would be exposed in the investigation. So he announced he was terminating his ministry. So in the fall of 1973, Jones and the Planning Commission developed an escape from the United States because they were fearing a government raid. This is when they made plans to relocate the People's Temple. Guyana was the favorable location, citing the recent revolution, socialist government, and favorable reaction Jones received when he visited. They had a vote. The group voted unanimously to set up an agricultural commune in Guyana, and they traveled to find the location. So they go there. By the summer of 74, he purchased, land and supplies were purchased in Guyana. This was what is crazy too. Jones was put in charge of the project and oversaw the installation of a power generation station, clearance of fields for farming, and construction of dormitories for the first settlers. Now, he brings his entire congregation down there. They're basically doing slave labor. They're building this town. And it was hard work. It was hard work. You're actually, building places that you're going to live in, water, the pipes, everything. The church where they would congregate, and it was grueling work. And Jones often went back to the U.S. to try to get more people to come down. It was going to be their socialist paradise and a sanctuary. he considered it, sovereign territory. It doesn't belong to anyone but him. Like, the U.S. can't touch us. Georgetown, Guyana can't touch us. This is our home. So he had about 50 at the start of 1977, and they were expanding the commune, but it was not ready to handle the huge, massive influx of settlers that eventually came. Bureaucratic requirements after Jones' arrival sapped labor resources and other needs. Buildings fell into disrepair and weeds encroached the fields. Jones was warned that the facilities could only support 200 people, but Jones believed the need to relocate was urgent and moved immediately. In 1977, 600 of his followers arrived in Jonestown, and then 400 more came in over the months. And then he began moving the temple's financial assets overseas, and he sold off all his property in the U.S. The People's Temple had, listen to this, over $10 million in assets at the time. Despite the negative press prior to his departure, Jones was still very well respected outside of the People's Temple for setting up a racially integrated church, which helped the disadvantaged, which is true. If you see the documentary when the congressman actually went to Jonestown, you can see that it's primarily black and white, and they're integrated and they love each other. But this is slave labor. Temple members worked 6 days a week from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. with an hour for lunch. The work week was shortened to 8 hours for 5 days in 1978 after Jones's health started to fail and his wife was taking on more of the management of the Jonestown activities. At the end of the day, Temple's members, they couldn't relax. They had to attend several hours of church activities in a pavilion, including classes on socialism. He compared his schedule to the North Korean system of 8 hours of daily work followed by 8 hours of study. And this is why, he said Mao Zedong was his hero. And he was gradually subjecting his followers to sophisticated mind control and behavior modification techniques that he had studied. He would often read news and commentary from Radio Moscow and Radio Havana. So it's all communist. And now this is when he started his attack on the U.S. He would say the U.S. is a capitalist, imperialist villain, casting socialist leaders such as Kim Tu-sung and Robert Mugabe and Joseph
Who does that
Stalin.
sound like now? Who does that sound like now in the United States? Mamdani,
Sounds like the mayor of New York guy.
Yes. AOC, dangerous people, dude.
Well, yeah, and he recorded everything. So there were hours and hours of recordings. So recordings of the commune meetings show how livid and frustrated Jones would get when anyone did not understand or find interesting the message Jones was placing on them. He forced every member of the People's Temple to say they were homosexuals while proclaiming himself the only heterosexual. In spite of this, Jones was actually, which I never knew, bisexual. Bisexual. He had sex with male and female followers of Jonestown. Women who slept with him claimed he was the best lover they ever had. People's Temple member Tim Carter felt Jones put them up to that kind of talk.
Yeah.
So what he also did, he alienated all these people from their families in the States.
Of course.
And that's what started causing the problems. Family members were complaining to the government, complaining to Congress that, you know, my daughter, my sister were taken against their will. I can't get a hold of them. They're not responding to me. He's not letting them respond to me. Yeah. So,
jeez.
Again, you know, he kept his attack on America. Then, you know, he often had drills to emergency drills to keep the member of Jonestown fearful of venturing outside the commune and of people coming to attack them. So they would be armed. You know, following 2 visits by the United States Embassy personnel to check on the situation, and there was an IRS investigation in 1978, Jones became increasingly, you know, convinced of an attack, and he feared it was coming. The drills were called White Night drills. So this is when he created the cyanide. He put the cyanide in the Kool-Aid. He told his followers he was going to distribute poison for everyone to drink in an act of suicide during a drill. A batch of fruit punch was served to everyone in the pavilion who sat by crying and waiting for their death. Everyone drank the Kool-Aid.
Is that where the term comes from? Everyone drink the Kool-Aid?
Well, he told them this, but after time passed, Jones informed his followers it was a drill and there was no poison in their drink. He wanted to test their loyalty. That's why he did it. He wanted to see, you know, if anyone was going to toss the Kool-Aid or anyone was going to run away.
I would toss that out.
This showed the loyalty to him. I can't even imagine that. You're sitting there and he said, okay, this is for real. They're coming to attack us. They're going to take away our freedom. We're going to go to heaven all together. In his, you know, there is poison in this drink and it's going to kill you. You must drink it. And everyone's crying and they all get the cups passed out and they drink it and they're all sitting there waiting to die. And then he finally tells them no.
He's sick. He's bonkers sick.
I understand. So there were people who found ways to defect during the time and get back to America. People, you know, snuck off. One of the temple's defector, Deborah Layton, you know, described in an affidavit to the government about this event. She goes, everyone, including the children, were told to line up. As we passed the line, we were given a small glass of red liquid to drink. We were told the liquid contained poison, and we would die within 45 minutes. We all did as we were told. When the time came when we should have dropped dead, Reverend Jones explained the poison was not real and that we had just been through a loyalty test. But he warned us that this time was not far off when it would become necessary for us to die by our own hands. And that's what caused her to leave. she found a way to escape. So Jonestown was really deteriorating by 1978. The community was exhausted and completely overworked because, you know, their only way to live, they had to provide food for themselves. They had to farm. I mean, it was excruciating manual labor, and they were expected and required to perform manual labor from early morning until night. And then he had loudspeakers installed around Jonestown where sermons were played on a constant loop for the entire community to listen. Jones began to propagate his belief, what he learned, translation, once his followers settled in Jonestown, claiming he and his followers would die and live blissfully together in the afterlife. The food was very, very meager, and workers were starving. You know, after spending all day working in the heat of Guyana, I mean, it's just heat, humidity. They would have to go at night to listen to Jones preach, and these sermons lasted hours. The community was sleep deprived. According to another escapee from Jonestown, sleep deprivation was the most effective methods Jones had on controlling his followers. She said, one time Jim said to me, let's keep them poor and tired, because if they're poor, they can't escape. And if they're tired, they can't make plans. O'Shea was like one of his top confidants. She reported Jones would maintain control of the People's Temple members using punishment, such as keeping them in a coffin-shaped box several feet underground, while other members were assigned to constantly berate and reprimand them. Can you imagine that? Yeah, you weren't working hard enough, so your punishment, getting in the coffin 6 feet under, and you're going to stay there in the heat, and like you're simulating being buried alive.
It's South America. It's 100 degrees.
So this was the incident. Finally, because
Oh my God.
of the defectors who left and gave it and went to the government, because of what was being reported, the United States, and because family members were complaining that they couldn't get to their loved ones, the United States finally, was going to intervene. Jones, at the time in 1978, he actually told his followers he had lung cancer in an effort to gain compassion and control them. You can't leave me. I have lung cancer.
What?
Yeah, he told his members, he's like, I have succumbed. I have lung cancer. I need you now more than ever. So, because he knew several people had defected and escaped, and he was telling them this, to gain their sympathy and compassion, and you can't leave me. You can't leave me. Now, I didn't know this. He was a very, very hardcore drug addict. He was abusing Valium. He was taking Quaaludes, amphetamines, certain stimulants, and barbiturates. Audio recordings of meetings held in Jonestown attest to the commune's leader deteriorating health. Jones complained of high blood pressure that he's had since the 50s. small strokes. He lost weight, 30 to 40 pounds in his last 2 weeks at Jonestown. He complained of temporary blindness, convulsions, and he spent time in November of 1978 in his cabin. He had severe swelling in his extremities. So again, people complained, who defected, gave affidavits to the government. Families of Jonestown members complained to the government. You know, people, my whoever was taken against their will, we can't contact them, we can't visit them, we're concerned of their safety. So finally, Congressman Ryan, he was the one who said something has to be done. So he volunteered to go on a quote unquote fact-finding mission to Jonestown to investigate allegations of human rights abuses, because that's what he's being told. That's what he was told from the temple members who escaped. So he came with relatives of the temple members, an NBC camera crew, and several reporters from newspapers. And the group arrived in Georgetown on November 15th, 1978. Unfortunately, this was also funny. Their trip was delayed while they got there. Jim Jones was fucking with them, so he didn't come pick them up right away. 2 days. They had to stay there 2 days in Georgetown. They're like, he said, yeah, they're coming to get him. Yeah, they're coming to get him. He put it off for 2 days. Talk about mind fucking you. So 2 days later, they traveled by, like, in a small airplane, because I remember seeing the video of it. It was a really small plane. They all barely fit. And then the plane landed, and then they were transported in a pickup truck, I believe, or a van. I can't remember. I remember seeing it. When you see the video, it's astounding. They were transported to Jonestown. Jones hosted a reception for the delegation that evening in the pavilion, during which temple member this was what started all the chaos. Vernon Gosney passed the note meant for Congressman Ryan to NBC reporter Don Harris, requesting assistance for him and another temple member, Monica Bagby, in leaving the settlement. Tensions began to rise as news spread through the community that some members were attempting to leave. Ryan, I remember seeing this on film. They had a big dinner. They had the kids dancing. Jones was there. Everyone was, appeared happy and that they wanted to be there. And they loved each other. And they put on a show for him. They put on a show for him. So Ryan became increasingly concerned because people were telling him, either like whispering to him, or he was getting notes that people wanted to leave. And then, like, the next afternoon before he leave, Ryan narrowly avoided being stabbed by a temple member, Don Sly. So Congressman Ryan, Leo Ryan, went to Jones and he said, listen, I respect you. I respect what you're doing here. I don't want to interfere. I just want to help if people want to leave. And then, Jones basically asked, Who wants to leave? If you want to leave, you're welcome to leave. 15 people raised their hands.
Smart.
And Jones said, okay, no problem. You can go. So Marceline Jones, which was his wife, announced on the public address system that everything was fine, urged the locals to go back to their houses. And Ryan left Jonestown for the port where the plane flew in. During this time, aides prepared a large metal tub, grape flavor Kool-Aid, poisoned with Benadryl, promethazine,
Promethazine.
Yeah, promethazine, chloropromethazine, chloroquine, chloral hydrate, diazepam, which is Valium, and cyanide.
Cyanide is a killer.
So members, so they drove Congressman Ryan and the people who wanted to leave to the plane on the airstrip that was going to fly them back to Georgetown, and they would fly from Georgetown back to the U.S.
Yeah.
So as soon as they get there, Jonestown's Red Brigade
Hello?
armed guards arrived and began shooting them. The gunman killed Congressman Ryan and 4 others near the Guyana Airway by the aircraft.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Because I mean he was honest. He said, "I see nothing alarming here. I just want to take, if any, families are concerned, if anyone wants to leave, they're welcome to leave. And I'm just here to take them. I see everything that you're doing, and it's nothing illegal. It's nothing that we're going to get involved with. My concern is people are being held against their will."
Right.
And that's what he told Jones. And that was really, and I believe that was true. I don't believe the U.S. had any intention on raiding Jonestown. So again, they get there. He sends his Red Brigade, and they start shooting. One of the supposed defectors, Larry Layton, drew a weapon and began firing on members of the party inside the plane. So this guy pretended to be a defector and then shot people once they got in the plane, which included a couple reporters, and the NBC cameraman, Bob Brown, was able to capture some of the footage before he was shot.
I got to go soon, so.
Okay. Well, there were 5 killed, and then, the Jones had everyone drink the Kool-Aid. They all died. Jones's son was actually playing in a basketball tournament and survived because he believes this because his mother sent him to play in this tournament to protect him. So everyone else drank the Kool-Aid and died. The U.S. eventually arrived and investigated, and this was the largest attack on Americans since 9/11. So again, I apologize for
No,
being long-winded with it, but I just wanted to give the background on Jones.
it was
It's just
good.
amazing how he was so charismatic, and he learned from this Branham guy. He copied a lot of his philosophies, practices, the healing crap, and he preyed on African Americans who were in poverty, and that's why he was able
And I
to.
think the key was he preyed on poverty people.
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
There were white there
depended
too.
on him. Yes, that depended on him. That depended on him.
But he had a big connection with African Americans for that.
Correct.
You know, which is
Correct.
which is crazy.
And like the defector said, keep them poor, keep them weak. Because if they're poor, they can't leave, and if they're weak, they can't plan. Like, that's incredible that came out of his mouth. And I do believe that his upbringing, it's not all on him. He had a horrible upbringing. I know a lot of people have a horrible upbringing, and they make it out.
Well, it is on him.
His horrible upbringing really influenced who he became because of the churches. And he realized that he wanted to be a preacher. He realized he could make friends. He realized that he could control people by being a preacher. So that's what led to this. The mind control that he had, getting people to move to Guyana, build this fucking place. It's just outrageous. But that's what a cult is. They tell you that you can't survive without them, and you have to show unequivocal loyalty to them. And these people 100% did. They drank the goddamn Kool-Aid. Laced with cyanide.
Literally.
Yeah. That's why I say they drank the Kool-Aid. And no hesitation either. Just here's a cup. Oh, okay, down it goes. And and the funny thing is, he did not drink the Kool-Aid. He shot himself.
Oh wow!
Because he knew that drinking the Kool-Aid would be a painful death. His wife also. I think he shot his wife and shot himself.
So the kid lived.
And the other crazy thing is 9 of his children survived. Jim Jr., Stefan, Tim, Susan, a couple others. I've heard interviews with Jim Jr., and he credits his mom for that day sending them to a basketball tournament to play in. Because
were they African American, his kids, right? Aren't they?
No, they're white. They're white
yeah.
because he married a white woman. But she sent them to play in a basketball tournament because he believes that she knew his plan. The congressman wasn't leaving alive. And once the congressman was shot, they knew Jonestown was going to be raided. So she sent them away. With Jonestown being raided, she knew that he was going to have everyone drink the Kool-Aid and kill themselves. And he wanted them to survive. So that's the only, I guess, bright spot. There were people that defected and made it out. His children made it out. But it's just a wild freaking tale of how this guy from Indianapolis goes to California, teaches, builds up members, thousands, and convinces them to move to fucking Guyana and literally build this place from the ground up. So I know you got to go.
I do.
Another banner episode of Bloodline and Betrayal Good luck with your cult, Christy. Christy was on cults rule. Christy, I do agree, cults rule. The church I go to may be a cult, so I don't know.
Cult Cully.
No, the church I go to is a lot of people consider it a cult. So,
Oh, nice.
I hope you feel better. Let me know how it goes
We'll see.
for another banner, Bloodlines and Betrayal. I'm Steve Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. Coach Humans just saying yes to greatness. Remember, when life gives you lemonade, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Just join a cult.
Okay.